Welcome to my channel. I've made a video on METAR, so I hope you like it. If you have any doubts, any questions, you can comment below. Also, please subscribe the video so that I can make more videos for you all. About METAR now in this video. So you know what METAR is, you must have heard this a lot of times. So METAR is nothing but your Meteorological Aerodrome Report. Okay, so what is a aerodrome report? Basically the report, the weather at the time that this being released at that particular aerodrome. Okay, now it could be, you must have heard pilots saying give me METAR for Delhi, give me METAR for Mumbai, or Chennai, etc, etc. So this report is delivered every 30 minutes, or it could also be hourly basis. It depends if the weather is changing or not. Also it depends on particular aerodrome to aerodrome, the timings. And it is only released during the operational hours of an aerodrome. That means, like for example, there are certain aerodromes like maybe Delhi that are operational 24/7, but there are airports like Leh that are only operational during certain durations, right? So in the time the aerodrome is operational, we will have that report. Now these are the photos that I've taken out from Google. So this is how a METAR looks like. So this is how coded it is. So it is in the code language, which is standardized so that everybody, every pilot, everyone who actually requires a METAR is able to read it and understand it around the world. So this is a standardized version of how METAR is. So we need to basically decode every code that's written on this METAR. Now one interesting thing is that in this METAR, if you see, or even if you see in the lower portion also, these are METAR examples. So there is a METAR written in front if it's a METAR report, and there is a SPECI written if it's a SPECI report. So there are certain kinds of reports that are delivered. Every report has a specification. For example, METAR is a general aerodrome report. SPECI could be something related to specific thing, which we'll talk about. And then there is something called as TAF, and then there is something called as AirMet, VolMet, all of that. So all these are reports. So it will be mentioned which report you are getting. Okay, now I have created an example from the videos that I learned from when I was doing my studying of METAR. So I'll just write one example and I want everybody to write it with me so that we can decode every code. So this is METAR, Victor India Delta Papa 200700 Zulu 11007 Golf 20 Kilo Tango. It goes in a straight line. I'm writing it now down because I wanted to teach. So here this R is basically runway, but Romeo 28/1100 plus Sierra Hotel Romeo Alpha. Then we have scattered 010, broken 020. Anybody who's seen a video on clouds would know what I'm saying here. So these are basically mentions of clouds in octas. Then overcast 060 CB is also a cloud, that is your cumulonimbus cloud. 33/26 Quebec 1008 and no SIG. Okay, so this is a METAR example which we are going to decode each and every code that's written here one by one so that you understand how a METAR is thrown and what actually this code means. Okay, so we're going to go one by one. So first we're going to talk about METAR, that's written the first thing in a report that is being delivered. So this is basically the identification that it's a METAR report or it's a SPECI report or any kind of report. So identification of the type of report. So this type of report is nothing but a METAR report. Okay. The second is this. What do you think this is? This is the aerodrome. So aerodromes, if anybody is given their regulation exam or RTR exam, they would know how these are coded. So aerodrome, or you could just go on, Google and say, give me an ICAO. So these are ICAO codes, ICAO designators. So these are all ICAO designator. So just go on Google and you can search all the ICAO designators for all the airports that exist in India. So for Delhi, this is VIDP. Okay, so this is the name of the aerodrome and it's a 4-letter designator, ICAO designator. So the second thing that's written in a METAR is this. Now what do you think this is? Okay, so I'll just quick on going because I know I can't talk to you guys. So date and time. The third thing is the date and time. So it is 200700 Zulu. So how is it divided? So the first two digits here gives you the date and The next 4 gives you the time. And when we talk about Zulu, that means basically time in UTC, universal time, right? So this is it. So it's 20th, or the date is 20th. Month is not written, doesn't matter, because if you are particularly flying in a month, you would know what month it is. You already know, right? So date is the date and the time is the universal time, which is given in the third thing. Okay. Now what does this mean? These are basically now the winds. 1100 golf 20 kilo tango. So this is a group of, this is how winds are represented. Okay. It could include a lot of things. Now here, what is it including? So the first 3 digits gives you the direction from which the winds are blowing. Okay. In degrees true, if somebody has seen my previous videos, you would know that when you listen, it is in when you are listening to a report, then it is in degree magnetic, but in a METAR, when you're reading it, it's in degrees true. Okay. The second 2 digit, that is 07, is this, obviously now direction we know, this is the speed in knots. Okay. Now this speed is in knots. Why is it? Now this is it. Okay. Normally you would just see just 11007. This could just be written there. But here we have I have added something which would give you that even this could be seen. So what is this? G means gust. Gusts, if somebody has seen my previous videos, you know what a gust is, what a squall is, what a lull is. So gust is sudden change in wind speed. Okay. So when this is, why is it reported? It's not always reported. So gusts are only reported if gust of wind is 10 knots more than 07 knots. Then the info is also given. So if there is a difference of 10 knots after the mean wind speed. So in case there is no difference, it's just 2 knots ka difference or 3 knots or something. So only when there is a difference of 10 knots is when the gust is reported after the wind speed. So here there are winds. So how do you read this? So the winds are coming from 110 degrees of 7 knots, gusting at 20 knots. So 20 knots is now again the speed of the gust. Okay. So this is how, and gusts are not reported if the difference is not more than 10 knots. Now let's come to the 5th part. That is this one, 090 Victor 160. That is your 5th point. Now these are the winds are basically varying. There are variable winds. Okay. So this is also not always reported if the variable winds are not there. Okay. So what does this mean? That winds are variable from कहाँ से मतलब change होती जा रही है from 090 degrees true to 160 degrees true. So if I draw like this, this is 090, this is 180, somewhere here it is 160, right? So जो मेरी winds है वो यहाँ से आ रही है, यहाँ से ऐसे change होती जा रही है, इसके बीच में it's getting changed. This is what it means. And since winds are not always variable, so this is also a temporary thing that might be mentioned, not always mentioned. So if the wind is changing its direction more than 60 degrees, why is this mentioned? So if the wind is changing direction more than 60 degrees, then this group of winds is added. Group of wind, you could say information, is added after wind speed and direction that we just saw in the 4th point, and direction. Okay, so then only this is added when there is a change. Now we come to the 6th part. What is next written here? 1400, 1400. So when you see a number like that, that is nothing but representing visibility. It could be 5000, it could be 6000. So the visibilities are written up to 10 kilometers, which is basically 10,000, right? So it's not written as 10,000. Oh, sorry. Yeah, meters. So these are in meters. This is 1400 meters. So what I was trying to say was here. Let me write it again. So it is denoted up to 10 kilometers in meters. Okay, 10 kilometers denoted hota hai in meters. Basically the only number you would see like that is the visibility, and the last number that you would see is 9999. That is it. After this, if the visibility is more than 10 kilometers or 10,000 meters, in that case what will happen, it will show sky clear. So visibility is only denoted from 0 up to 9999. So visible in this is in meters. Okay, meters, and it is denoted up to 10 kilometer. Now the seventh part, what is after that? This is the runway information and the visibility on the runway. Okay, so this is written as Romeo 28/1100. What does this mean? This means runway visibility. You'll get used to these codes given when visibility is less than 1500 meters. So you know RVR, that's known as the range, runway visual range. So agar visibility is more than 1500, maybe the visibility was 5000 or maybe it was 6000, then you won't see this thing written in a METAR. So this is only and only written when the visibility is below 1500 to specify kitna niche. Now it's because difficult for the pilots to know if they can take off or not. So there is important, this is an important part. Okay, so this is important. So it is only this runway visual range will only be reported if your visibility is less than 1500 meters. And what does this signify? This is runway 28 of Delhi, of course. So there are three codes that can be put in the end of a, okay, now there is very, very important part here. So in this reporting, whenever it is reported, so there are three codes that are put at the end of the RVR. This is U, D and N. What does this mean? So U would be written as R28/1100U. If it's D, it will be written as R28/1100D. And here it would be N. If it's written in the end, that would mean no change. Okay, so it will be written as R28/1100N. So N means no change. D means, D ka matlab hai decreasing. So basically your visibility is decreasing by last 10 minutes. क्योंकि METAR हमारा कब दिखाता है? Every 30 minutes or 1 hour. ठीक है, so this is just to inform the pilot कि एक तो visibility already 1500 से कम है, that is why we are reporting the runway visual range. Now that we are reporting, just wanted to tell you that last 10 minutes में ये और कम हो रही है. So a pilot has an idea that by the time they are going to land, the visibility might have even further decreased. Okay, and U means that the visibility basically is increasing by 100 meters or more in the last 10 minutes or whatever time. So now this U means for the pilot that visibility is getting better. So by the time we were landing, the visibility might have improved a little bit. But when we talk about D, that means it's getting worse. And this is mean there has been no change. It has been this since the last 1 hour or whatever time. It has not changed. The visibility is still like that. It's N. So these are the three codes that could also be used for this particular explanation. Now we come to the next part, that is plus SHRA. That is which point it is? 8. Okay. So the 8 point is plus SHRA. Now I'll share you after the end of the video the questions, along with I will also share you a table where these codes are written, where you could tell, okay, what does it mean? So there are certain number of codes and we'll discuss that table. So this is basically considered as a weather group. Okay, so this would mean, so this SH and RA has different values and that plus has a different value. So this SH means heavy showers and this RA means rain. So this whole code means heavy showers and rain, and we will discuss this weather group in the end of the video. Okay, so this was the weather group explained in the METAR. Then we talk about next part. Okay, now these are all the clouds that are given. Anybody who has not seen my cloud video, please go and see what does this mean. I'm not going to explain it again. So these are basically clouds mentioned. So there is scattered at 010. That means this 010 has a significance. That is the level they are explaining. So that means that is at 1000 feet. The clouds are scattered, and scattered as per clouds are measured in octas. So now they are scattered. Then we had broken at 020. So that means at 2000 feet the clouds are broken. Then at 3000 feet that we had was few. Clouds are at 030, and overcast. Overcast 060 CB. What does this mean? That at 6000 feet. 1000 feet the clouds are overcast. That means there's cloud and cloud everywhere. Okay. So this is important to know at 6000, and there is CB also, that is your cumulonimbus clouds exists at this level. Okay, now there is something known as, I'll just explain, VV could be there. So it is known as vertical visibility. So vertical visibility is something that you could see vertically, right? This could be, written in the METAR when cloud cover cannot be identified. जब हमें पता ही नहीं चल रहा है that what clouds are there, so then we would give you vertical visibility, V/V. Okay, so this is how it's written, and it would be written, for example, how it will be written. It will be written as VV02. That would mean your vertical visibility is 200 meters of vertical visibility. Okay, I'm writing a METAR for you to just figure it out what it means just here. Okay, a new METAR. So it's METAR 200100 Zulu 26005 knots 300. FG is the code of the weather group, which we will talk about. Okay, then overcast and vertical visibility of 02, or it could also be written as VV and like that. Okay, just this is not a part. So this is how it would be written, VV. So now you see that there is a mention of the cloud, that it is overcast. We cannot identify what's the cloud cover. So they have given you a vertical visibility of 200 meters. Okay, so this is your homework. Please decode this METAR. Alright, this is a very simple METAR till what we have done till now. Okay, now the next part here is, okay, before we go beyond this, okay, let's go. Then I'll tell you what it means, the later part. Okay, now this is Z33. Okay, so which point are we on? 10th. So 10th point is where we are talking about 33/26. Very, very simple. This is temperature and dew point. This is temperature / dew point given. So when the temperature and dew point are very, very close together, that means it's saturated air. And when they are very, very far apart, or even if there is a little difference, then that means there is no saturation, or cold and fog formation might not be expected, visible moisture is not there. So this is temperature and dew point in degree Celsius. Okay, now there is something called as 33/ it could also be written as M02. So this M is the replacement of the negative sign. So they don't put negative sign, but that means the value is -2. So that is important to know. So it could also be represented like that. Okay, now Q1008, if somebody has read my or seen my videos on atmospheric this altimeter settings, so QNH is 1008. This is the pressure at that aerodrome. That is your QNH. It is always a 4-letter thing written. So for example, if my pressure was 998, it will not be written as 998. It has to be written as Q0998. So it always have to be in the 4-digit. Always. Very important. And there will be questions in your exam where they will give you an option that find a mistake, or maybe they'll tell you what would you write if the pressure is this, how will it be written. So there would be option as Q998, and then there will be option of Q0998. So the correct answer is 0. So it always have to be of a 4-digit. Another question that can come in this one, I'll explain you where it's not cluttered. So when you write Q1008, and sometimes they will give you the pressure of maybe 1008.2 or 1008.6. Always round it off to the lower value. Why? Because it's safer. This is the pressure, right? It's giving you where the aerodrome is as per the pressure. So elevation kitna and all of that. So it's a dangerous term. So if you take a higher value, you might tell the aircraft that you still have time. Matlab basically, if this is your airport, this is your runway and you're coming for landing, and if you put a higher value, you will tell ki there is enough, matlab maybe there is itna distance bacha hai, but by that time you must be always, you know, touching the ground. So that is why we take the lower value to be very, very safe. So they might give you options that which would you, kyunki it's a 4-digit number, points are not included. So what would you represent these two as? It will be represented as this. Okay, great. Now in the last part, I think we're almost done with this METAR and I love it. So no sig. So what does that mean? So no sig is a important term, and then there was a equal to sign in the end. So this equal to sign basically means that the METAR report has ended. So it's an ended report now. And what does no significant mean? This means no significant. The full form is no significant. Matlab whatever has been mentioned in the METAR, so there hasn't been any significant change other than this. So that means no significant change is expected in next 2 hours. So this is what it means. Okay. Now there is one more term that I wanted to talk about when I was talking about clouds. There's something called as CAVOK. So CAV, this full form is clouds and visibility. Okay. Okay, that means visibility, RVR, weather, clouds, everything here. So what does this hold? This term holds very important points. For example, one, that the visibility is more than 10 kilometer or equal to. Like I told you that the visibility is mentioned from 0 to 9999 and this is meters. So if visibility is more than this value, it is always written as CAVOK because this represents the visibility of more than 10 or equal to 10 kilometers. That means CAVOK matlab visible sky hai, there is, you know, visibility is okay and there is no cloud. So no CB cloud. This also means there is no CB cloud. This also means that no significant weather. This could be written in the end. I'll give you a METAR to decode for homework. So no significant weather. Okay, this also means that the lowest cloud height not below 5,000 feet. मतलब 5,000 के नीचे cloud की कोई height ही नहीं है. That's because it's obviously visibility is okay. Now write a METAR for homework where this term is used. For example, I'll give you METAR VOBL. Now I want to also tell you that, you know, you could just go to Google and see your iCloud designator. 2008330 Zulu 07008 knots. Okay, and in the end it's written CAVOK. So what does this METAR imply? So this is your homework. Okay, so this was one term that I wanted to talk about. I'll share you the weather group that I promised. Apart from that, let me tell you a few more things. So if there is any recent change, so RE would be mentioned. So it would be mentioned like so if RE is mentioned, basically it is recent significant weather. If RE is mentioned, that means recent. Okay, this means recent. This is very important. It might be mentioned in a METAR. Okay, and if for example I'll also TS in the weather group means thunderstorms. Okay, so how is this this used? This term is used as RETS. So this RE means recent thunderstorm. So this is how it will be written in a METAR. So when it's written RE, you need to know that it means recent. Like for example, WS is also very important term, and we have read this term wind shear, and I've explained it also. So wind shear, now wind shear could be anywhere, right? The change of winds happening anywhere. So we have to mention, when we are mentioning wind shear 28 has to be written. So what is this 28? This is the runway from which when you are taking off, you need to be careful. So WS 28 would mean wind shear at this particular runway, that is that while you are taking off or on the runway or after takeoff, at the takeoff path, you might experience wind shear. If you might experience wind shear at all runway of a particular location, then it will be written as wind shear all runway. So these are also important terms. So this would mean wind shear. Okay. Now another type of a report is known as trend. Like there was a METAR, there is a trend, there is also something called as a SPECI. So read on it at your own time. So trend is basically a forecast valid for 2 hours after METAR forecast. It is a part of METAR. So basically ऐसे आएगा, METAR would be written and then there are all the codes and then they would show a temporary change or they would show like a becoming. So I'll tell you. So trend has to be reported after a METAR in 2 ways. Okay, the one is it could be becoming or it could be temporary. So when I am writing, for example, if this METAR I was taking, the one that I explained, so if I had to add the trend, so this no sig could be cut off and I would either put becoming here in or I would put a tempo. So when I put a tempo and then I start writing something, that becomes a temporary METAR, which is nothing but a trend. Okay. So after the METAR ends without that equal to sign, there could be a word written like this, becoming or tempo. So what becoming means? Becoming is a long lasting change, whereas tempo is a temporary. Okay, temporary could be basically, you could say, less than 1 hour. So that's a temporary change and it is valid for only 2 hours. Long lasting could be up to 2 hours, right? Now there are also terms called as FM and TL. This means from. So they'll give you a time कि इधर से इस time तक you would observe certain trend and this means until. Okay, I have written a wrong spelling. I'm going to delete that L. So FM means from and till. So how it is written, for example, let me write it for you. So tempo FM 1020, this is the time, until 1220, 1000 plus. So this is how a trend would be reported. Okay, this is how it will be reported. So what it really means is that there is a temporary weather that is up to 1 hour or less than 1 hour. From this time to this time, this much is the visibility and these are the showers. So this is the trend which is always mentioned after a METAR report is ended. Now there is another report as SPECI, like I told you, that is significant change in the weather. Any significant change in the weather, then a SPECI is delivered. Okay, so if there is a significant change between two METARs, दो METAR इशू हुए 1 घंटे के गैप में या whatever, and there was a change, there was a drastic change, then a SPECI has to be issued. SPECI, the format is the same. I already showed you in a picture. There is nothing different in the format, but it's written SPECI here instead of METAR. So a SPECI is issued when there is a significant change between the two METAR. So this was all about METAR. Now I will share you the weather group. So this is the weather table that I was referring to. Okay, very important. All these codes are important. So what does DZ mean? That means drizzle. So like I told you about the thunderstorm, right? And I told you about the showers, thunderstorms we used. We also saw there was somewhere written as fog, FG, right? So all these words are important. If there is a minus written, that means it's light. Moderate, there is no qualifier, but if there is plus mentioned, like it was mentioned as plus SH, rain, showers, heavy rain, so that means heavy. So whenever you read it as heavy showers, rain. If it is as minus SHRA, then you would read it as light shower rain. Okay, so this is how it represents. So you could I'll just delete all the markings that I did so that you can take a good screenshot and you can learn these. This is a screenshot from the book IC Joshi. Very important, very, very important. Now you would see the question. So there's something called as staff terminal aerodrome forecast. Just read about the staff in IC Joshi book, and then you could the codings are the same. So you just need to do all these questions to know where the winds are coming from. All of the very simple direct questions. So just attempt these questions, take a screenshot here. Then there is a METAR report like I promised. So okay, I'll just zoom in one by one. So take a screenshot of this now. Then you go here, this is the next page, you take a screenshot here, there are SPECI METAR also there, then you take a screenshot here. So attempt all these questions and please go through IC Joshi over to understand a few more terms that might be written. They're different, basically different kinds of report. So how questions come is in the exam, they would give you a METAR like this, and then they would have a 1 or 2 or 3 questions on it. So it's one of the most scoring part, because it's very easy. All you have to do is understand how the codes are there, decode it, and we're done. So METAR is done here. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you learned something today, and I request you all to please subscribe so that I'm more motivated to make more such videos for you all.